is nuts.
There's no golf clubs around here. Right? Please, hide them. Hide your golf clubs.
It kind of reminded me, though, was it a little cathartic? Because in my Since You've Been Gone video, they just let me trash an apartment, and it was awesome.
It was like a rage room, and they kept on just replacing things, and I just kept
And
on.
you don't have to pick it up.
No.
Yes.
I felt bad about the guitar, though. There was a guitar. And
Don't feel bad.
I know, but I felt it was so sacrilegious. Just look, you've got guitars everywhere. I felt
if you would like to bash one, go ahead. It would feel good.
Never, I'm done.
No, it's so funny. It's not funny. It's very violent, but it's hilarious how the comedic timing of them catching you, them running off, you being like, oh, like all of it is great. So this is the third time y'all have worked together, right?
That's right. Yeah, third time.
Is it? I feel like the other two times weren't as much as this, obviously.
No.
Like as far as like scenes, I always say like people are in movies together, but you're not in a ton of scenes together.
Right, right. I mean, it was almost exactly mirrored. So the first time was a movie called Drive. And I was on that for maybe about a week.
Yeah.
That's when we first met. We were the kids at that moment, like the young, you know, fresh on the scene.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, we did Inside Llewyn Davis. And then you, thank you. And then you were there for about a couple of weeks,
just
you know.
a week.
Yeah. And so this is the first time we really got this much to do together and create a whole relationship.
Yeah. We saw the intense fight between these two that sets up the season, right? That's like kind of what sets everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, that tableau, that last moment, we kind of had to, you know, retrofit that thing, like figure out how to get to that moment with this fight. And so we spent, I mean, a long time, long conversations, rehearsals, figuring out, you know, it's such a tonally, you know, very precise thing to do.
Nothing's improv, right? It's all choreographed, where you're not...
Well, no, at that moment, that was all, we had done so much rehearsals on that. But even in the moment when we were filming it, trying to find that moment that really breaks us apart. You know, it's like those fights that you get into when, you know, suddenly you're like, how did we even get here?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how did this spiral out of control? And so to be able to build that thing moment by moment was really exciting.
Yeah, like the one thing gets said and you're like, oh, can't take that back.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Now, I've never been in that kind of argument.
No.
Never. Things escalate because there is a video of you fight that you don't want to go public. And this is, why do you think, Josh, your character does not want this to go public, most of all?
It's not a great look, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not
well, first
a great
and foremost,
look.
but why? Is it really the relationship or is it the job? It seems like it's the job.
His job's on the line. His contract hasn't been renewed. He's the general manager of this very fancy country club.
Yeah.
And so, and these are people that work for him. And you know, they're Gen Z, you know? I mean, like, you can't trust those people.
They always have their phones.
Exactly. They always have their phones. They're always filming. Content. So it's like, oh my God, if this gets out, I'm screwed. You know, I'm screwed. And it's very much about the performance. You know, like the mask that people put on, and you know, pretending everything's okay, pretending that you know everyone's safe, everything's cool, I've got everything under control. And then the reality of what's happening behind the scenes. And so I think that's the big thing that he's worried about.
I know you worked. Is it true you worked at a country club before? Because you play a manager in this one. Yeah.
It was one of my first jobs. 2 months. I worked for 2 months at this country club in Lake Worth, Florida.
2 months was enough.
That was enough. That was enough hearing the song "Celebration" over and over again. A lot of weddings, a lot of, you know, that was enough for me.
Yeah. Can you talk about your character, Lindsay? Kind of what? Because I think the interesting thing about your character is she kind of is lost, it seems.
Yeah. I had a big, like, at the top of we worked together for a long time before we started shooting on the characters, and I remember saying to Oscar, like, who is she? Like, she just sort of doesn't, you know, she's sort of reached this point in her life sort of just through social currency. Like, she dated the right person, and then she came to America, and she was sort of English in America, which is kind of a thing. You know, you can get by on that a little bit. I know, it works. And so there was these various ways in which she sort of used her charm or like her social skills to get to a place, but she never really found a thing that she loved or a thing she was passionate about or really knew much about much. And so I think this marriage falling apart is like, well, that was her identity. That was all. That was who she was being part of this kind of royal family.
Scary.
And now maybe this is gone, and then what next? And then sort of mass panic ensues, and she
no
a little bit off the rails.
We are back with Oscar, Isaac, and Carey Mulligan. That was a look at their series Beef. The second season is available now on Netflix. Music is such a big part of the show, so we wanted to dedicate this whole segment to talking about that. So you're very musical, like your character, actually. Is this something you brought to the character or was already there?
Hopefully a little more musical than my character. He's really trying to hold on to this. So Sonny did have the idea of having, you know, this kind of holding on to this past identity that shows so much about, as we were talking about, constructing identities, when those identities kind of fall apart. And so originally he had an idea that he's into folk music, and we talked about that in bands of, like, you know, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Some that you might know, and then I said, you know, I've kind of done that a bit. Maybe there's something else, and that's when we came up with, like, oh, maybe like synth music. Maybe he's really into the Moog.
Yeah.
And so we started adding, you know, exploring that idea, and that ended up being what we went with.
Yeah. I heard you got a playlist too. Was it from Phineas for your character?
No, Sonny, who created the show and directed it, he gave us a playlist that was like a sort of across the whole season playlist, and then we had our
Phineas
own little
did the
playlist.
music. Oh, okay,
and
cool.
Phineas, we had like some pieces of Phineas's score when we were shooting to sort of play to.
Yes.
A little bit.
No, way more than play to. We're going to go there. Okay. I was talking to them at the break. I've never heard of this. But you actually had little earwigs in your ear playing music while you're doing the scenes.
Yeah. Well, this was your idea, so you should.
Ish.
Oh, my God. I
Now
love
she
that
blames
blame
me.
was thrown. I love it.
On national TV.
Have you done that before?
Yes, but the reason why it happened was there's a scene when I'm playing the Moog, and Carey's character comes in, and we have a whole scene with this music playing in the background that I've made, the character's made. And so in order for us to be able to record the dialogue cleanly, we had the music playing in these little earwig pieces. And as we did the scene, it really tracked with what was happening emotionally, which is also Phineas's genius, but it kind of just happened that way. Yeah. And we both thought, this is kind of fun. We should keep doing this. And then I said, I've actually done this a couple times before for a couple scenes in the past, and it's kind of fun because, you know, as an artist, tension is the worst thing that can happen, right? You want to be relaxed.
We're the greatest.
And, well, I don't know. Like, when you're really tense.
It depends on the tension, Oscar.
I guess you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
For me, I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
When I'm really tense, I tend to close down a little bit. And, and so trying to get out of your head and out of the way and not thinking so much for me is helpful. And I think we thought this is maybe a fun way to kind of not even hear ourselves.
Yeah.
And to just, you know,
and
have
when
something
you're
else
doing
happen.
like take after take after take, like sometimes you can fall into a sort of rhythm that you don't even realise you're doing, where you're like, oh, I'm kind of doing it the same way. Or particularly if it's a bit funny, you're like, oh, that was funny. I'll hang on to that and do it again, and then it's not funny. And so
you get overconscious.
Yeah, so it was a way of just like...
You've overdone it.
You take half your brain and you listen to something and it sort of removes you from...
So we started doing that for every scene. We would drive the sound guy crazy. We're like, now play this, now play this. And it was pretty fun.
I love. Okay, so I'm trying to picture how it actually works, though. So I want you to prove this can happen. Will you do this for me? I want you to hear music and have to say something. I need to see this. And
you want to see it happen? Okay.
Yeah, you're talented.
Yeah. All right. But I guess we don't have.
We have a band. What do you want? What do you want?
All right, well, I guess you have to imagine that it's in our ears, right? So nobody else will be hearing it.
But we all
so
get to be a part of the experience.
You all get to be as if you are in our minds.
Yes.
And we'll just have to say some lines to each other.
Okay,
say a line to each other. Okay.
What kind of vibe do you want?
I think at first, like, so sometimes we would try like an emotional, kind of folky, like, you know,
so
very
maybe Jocko,
earnest.
Folky.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to imagine that none of you can hear that.
Yeah.
We can hear it.
But we can.
But you
can. Okay. So
all right,
we're
you're
hearing.
going to say.
Well, okay, I'll say something. You want to start? No. Okay, I'll say. Okay. Okay, ready? You got to look at me.
You got to look at me.
You've got to focus. Carey?
Yeah, sorry. Oh, God. All right. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to forgive you.
Well, you're going to have to try.
Cut.
Cut.
All right. All right. She needs a lot of rehearsal.
Oh, my God. I love that I secretly wanted to be like, I forget you.
But now you got to change it up. Usually what we would do is, like, if it was like an emotional thing, then we would try something the opposite of that.
Oh.
To create the good tension.
Oh, I messed you up. Okay,
so
do
then
it different.
Let's try
Okay.
can you like a funky, synthy, poppy?
Yeah.
Give me Jamiroquai.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So then that's
in your core.
That's in
okay.
here, yeah.
Okay, so that's like in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna do the same line.
Same line.
Same line. Okay.
I don't think I can ever forgive you. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm ever... No. I don't know how I'm ever going to forgive you.
Oh, God. Oh, well, you're gonna have to try.
Yeah, see, then it's got like a good energy. It's got like a good...
Doesn't help him going. I love it. It's totally different when we can all hear it.
It's probably,
Yeah. I'll do this for the whole show. I'm just gonna still watch it.
But actually, now it's going to be better when they do watch it, because I want to see the scenes again, knowing that you're listening.
Yeah,
You'll be looking at my hips. You're like, oh, he's listening to something funky right now.
Yeah, he's into it. Look at that tension. Look at that tension. All right, we have to stop for another break. Everybody, give it up for Carey Mulligan and Oscar Isaac. You can watch Beef Season 2